system on the top is the more sophisticated system with a keyboard embedded in it. The one on the bottom is actually something that you connect to your laptop, and you can carry with you. It's portable, and you can plug it into any computer and read real output from a computer. And then finally, in the vision world, these are screen readers. Screen readers are really sophisticated software that not only read text, but also allow individuals to control the operating system of a computer. So they're quite sophisticated and actually quite, I think, difficult to learn. But they provide speech output for computer devices. And you see that some of these people are using a desktop and a laptop, but the gentleman to the right is actually using screen reading software that's part of a smartphone. And so he's able to activate parts of that screen and have it speak to him and be able to use that system. That's my time. Okay? So, and I realize I'm kind of moving quickly through this. Hopefully we'll have a chance to talk about any questions that you have. Assistive technology for hearing, lots going on here. Actually, this is not an area that I'm very sophisticated in, but there are assistive listening devices, excuse me, hearing aids, TTYs, teletypewriters, I think they used to be called, but a way for people to call and have text come out the other, or to use text to communicate through a phone, visual and tactile alerting systems, and so forth. Just a few images here. Some of the technology, again, is not necessarily very sophisticated, but it doesn't need to be. The picture you see here in the upper left-hand corner is a device that fits over a phone and increases the amplification of the phone. So if the phone doesn't go loud enough for somebody who's lost some hearing, they're able to put this device on and make it go louder so that they're able to hear. This next slide has something called FM systems. These are systems that might be used in a setting like this. So if you needed amplification in a larger group setting, we could set up a system where this mic would be connected into the FM system. You would have something that looked like the device in the upper left, which is a little thing that could fit around your neck. There's actually another example down at the bottom. A small device that fits around your neck has a hearing or a headset that goes into your ear. And then you're able to control your audio. So if you want to turn it really loud, you can, but everybody else is just hearing the normal sound that's in the room. Obviously, hearing aids, lots of different kinds of hearing aids that are available in the ear, over the ear, and so forth. And then I think moving on to, this might be my last set of items, but moving into aids for daily living. And I mentioned that there are just lots of little ways that people need help doing things that we may all take for granted. So being able to button up your shirt, being able to pull on your pants or buckle your belt, being able to brush your teeth because of the strength in your hand. All of those things may require some assistance, but if there are aids in place, then people are able to maintain independence. So here are some images of aids for daily living. The gentleman in the upper left is has limited shoulder mobility, so for him to get his arm back to put his arm into that suit coat is impossible, but if he uses this device to hold the suit coat, pull it forward, then he doesn't have to take his arm back, he can pull that through. You can see on the lower left, that's an object, a device that's used for buttoning buttons. If you don't have fine motor dexterity, you can push that little, it's basically kind of a hook. You push through the button hole, you grab a button, and you pull it back through, and then you can button up your shirt. One on the bottom is an example of someone who probably doesn't have the reach to reach down to grab pants to pull them up. So there is a device that they've attached to pants. They can get their feet into those pants, and then they use the kind of a it's not a cable, but a device that lets them pull that up without needing reach. You see the woman on the right is not able to reach up to comb her hair, so she has a brush that's on a really long stick, and lots of different things like this. Some other examples, these are adaptive utensils. Eating's a big issue. Being able to eat by yourself is important. And so for people who may not be able to hold onto a fork, it's actually a fairly small object, These have long, bendable blue handles that can be shaped into a bunch of different shapes, even wrapped around a hand. They're bigger to hold on to, and they allow people independence in moving. The objects on the lower right are reachers, so if you're in a chair or if you're not able to reach high, these are devices that would allow you to take stuff off of higher shelves. And I have one other one. So I mentioned there were tons of computer control interfaces. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because I think you guys probably have some sense of these, but there are lots of different kinds of keyboards, ergonomic keyboards, one-handed keyboards, small keyboards, all have different potential uses for people. Lots of people who have limited fine motor control in their hands use trackballs instead of a mouse, because a mouse requires a fair bit of dexterity. So that's something that we use. Joysticks often come into play. For some people, often people who don't have a lot of reach and extension, using a trackpad is a good idea because it allows them to just move in a very small area. The trackpad stays stable, and they're able to control the device. And then all the way up to, here's an example of someone who's using a head stick. It's a device, so this individual who doesn't have motor control in their arms, who does have control of their head, and who can either use this stick to type with on a keyboard or to use it on a touch screen. The key with assistive technology really is that any function that anybody has can be taken advantage of to do something. And that's what I think you'll see in the world of assistive technology, is this attempt to say, all right, let's not focus on what someone can't do. Let's look at what they can do, and let's think about how we can take that and optimize it. There are systems like the one you see here for eye gaze or eye tracking, again, for people who don't have mobility, high-level mobility, somebody we might call quadriplegic. They can use their eyes. The computer tracks the motion of their eyes. It translates that to a cursor on the screen. And based on where they're looking on the screen, they can dwell on an object. If they look at it long enough, it will activate. And so you can control the computer with just your eye gaze. Lots and lots of different switches. Button switches, foot switches, eye blink switches. This slide has an example of what's called a sip and puff switch. So if what you are able to do is to control the inflow and outflow of your breath, you can drive a wheelchair with that amount of the function. And because you do a couple puffs in to get started, a slow puff out to stop, you can, in these cases, they're probably also using this as a small joystick. So you see how it's kind of narrower towards the top. They're using their tongue to steer a little bit with those. So those are some examples of some pretty high-tech things. This next slide, these are actually switches that these individuals, they kind of are positioned up by their forehead, and they can use their forehead to activate or deactivate the switch. And then I think the last slide is this one, which is another example of computer interface, and it's Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is text to speech. But Dragon is actually a little bit more sophisticated than that. Not only would it allow you to speak and have your voice, the text that you say written on the screen, it also allows you to control the operating system, so to save and delete and to organize and so forth using your voice. So those are all examples of assistive technologies, and they're partially I just wanted to do that so that we're on the same page about the complexity of this area. There's a lot of possibilities in terms of what we could collect, and I think part of what we'll be deciding in each country is what is the right kind of taxonomy of assistive technology that we're going to want to collect. What makes sense? What are people looking for? What are they able to implement in the environments in which they live? What can they afford? Those kinds of things will all play out. So we can talk more about that. Let me tell you about UW's role, and then I'll transition out. So we are the University of Washington Center for Technology and Disability Studies, and we're an interdisciplinary center that's focused on technology, assistive technology primarily, distilled a policy, and we do some research as well. We have a number of staff, but the staff that are on this project include Becky Matter, who you're going to hear from in a minute, and Becky's the director of our international programs, and she's the one who really spearheaded a lot of the relationships that eventually resulted in this project. And then I'm the associate director of the Center for Technology and Disability Studies. We really have a specific role that's related, I think, primarily to high-level project management, basically bringing the teams together and getting the work done. So coordinating the leadership team. We're also coordinating with the funder Google, just for reporting and for any kinds of issues related to marketing of the project. Then we will certainly support design and evaluation of the AT Info Map system. The primary role for design is with Safod and with Tabagi, and the primary responsibility for evaluation of AFRINI will be supported in those roles. And then because of our work in assistive technology, we bring some AT expertise and some broader global connections that hopefully can be of use. So with that, transition.
Honorable guests, members of Safod, members of Safod, people from Washington University. I just want to really feel honored that I've been given this platform to actually talk a little bit about the African Network for Evidence to Action on Disability. I come from Stellenbosch University and I direct the Center for Disability and Rehabilitation Studies. At the Center for Rehabilitation Studies, we have got programs, postgraduate programs, and they cover students from the African region and also international. And we deal with research evidence, we deal with policies, we deal with models of best practice. We also collaborate with partners such as disabled people's organizations, government, business. We also play a mentoring role whereby we feel that maybe there is an organization or a university or any other segment that require support on disability and rehabilitation related matters. And we then can come in and give that type of support. And then we also picked up that we were getting a whole lot of integrated students from all areas, from all regions. And we wanted a way of really ensuring that our programs, as well as our collaboration role, is actually relevant. And by being relevant was to really connect at ground level with what is going on with people, as well as bringing in that information into our programs and informing our programs. Another thing we picked up was that researchers tended to not translate or disseminate their disability research results. And we were also concerned about that in terms of how then this research could actually inform policies and practice so that it can actually influence the lives of persons with disabilities at ground level. Hence then we sat as a group and we discussed the whole thing of, is it possible to form a network that will include disabled people, academics, business people, civil society, and government to actually discuss how we can translate disability research to inform policies, to inform practice, and to impact on the lives of persons with disabilities. So that's how the African Network for Evidence to Action on Disability was designed. We already know that there is a strong link between disability and poverty. And we already also know that 80% of disabled people reside in developing countries. And it could take a whole day to actually unpack why is that. We also are concerned, and these are the voices of disabled people, that they are concerned deeply that disability is always addressed within a welfare and a medical model system. And a majority of disabled people see disability as a social construct that is actually about society that must actually change so that it can be equitable, so that disabled people can actually be included in all spaces of life in the society. It can be actually an inclusive society. And that is how you will hear disability scholars speak about the social model of disability, and how you can also hear, again, disability scholars, especially those in academics, speak about emancipatory disability research. That is saying it will actually emancipate disabled people, that they must actually join all sectors of society. Then how did AfriNet evolve? As I have already said, that outside there is limited research evidence on disability. And even the available evidence is questionable on impact on the lives of disabled people. And on the other side, questions have been raised regarding the type and the stem of research evidence, and also the methodologies that are actually used out there. And there's just a general challenge of translating research evidence from policy to practice. So then we were also influenced by voices of disabled people's organizations that were just saying there's just this danger of collecting research evidence that can just accumulate out there, which really doesn't really do any change. And there was a need for a platform, a uniquely African platform that can translate new and existing disability research evidence into relevant and meaningful policy practice, advocacy, and products. For example, these products that we are going to develop in this Google project, whereby we bring to the table things that people have developed and showcase them that here it is. And what do you think? Do you think this product is good? Or should we develop more, produce more? That type of thing. This platform must engage with all stakeholders, hence the network. And so what did AfriNet aim to do? To be a significant contributor and a facilitator around disability research evidence in Africa by facilitating knowledge translation, drawing a broad presentation of stakeholders, developing AfriNet research products, facilitate and coordinate research dialogue, share best evidence to action, practice guidelines. Read for Africa, we thought that we could actually, in African countries coordinate their own disability research. And we could go into the AfriNet conference, whereby countries can actually present their own status of what is going on with regard to persons with disabilities. To persons with disabilities, have assistive devices and assistive technology in their countries, and how far, what is access issues, and so on. And then we also thought then biannually we will have a symposium. Now it is called a conference. In Malawi decided that it's no longer going to be a symposium, it's going to be a conference. And we also decided that it's not going to be biannually, it's going to be triannually. And those are the people that actually constitute AfriNIT: academics, disabled people, governments, civil society commission, and they call what we loosely classify as the Dutch Consortium. How did then we go around implementing AfriNIT? It was not easy within Stellenbosch University because our institutions of higher learning are still quite slow in terms of tackling disability matters. So if you go to vice chancellors saying to them, I really want in this university that there should be a focus on disability research, then they say to you, Kubela, demonstrate to us that what you are saying is a case. And then they said to me, why don't you table, that was 2007, why don't you table a conference to show to us that what you are talking about, there is a case. So, yeah, inputs from Research Support Services of Stellenbosch University. And then we also started showing to the university that disability research is not standing alone. It's actually about the engineering department. It's about education department. It's about psychology department. It's about the health science faculty. It's about the whole university. So it does need to be integrated right across the whole university. And then we also started linking with other units that deal with disability in other universities. For example, at UCT, there are disability studies. We work very closely with that unit. There is also UWC still in the Western Cape, the physiotherapy department. We also work closely with that department and other universities in other provinces and also in other countries of Africa. For example, University of Malawi, Kwame Nkrumah University. So we started linking, and gaining support. And then we also linked at political with the status of disabled people, which was situated then within the President's office, and the ministries that deal with disability issues, and the Premier of the Western Cape. And then, what then did we build as our guiding principles? We felt that there should always be open dialogue, transparency, underpinned by human rights, and we also played around between human rights and Ubuntu, which is actually an African principle of collectiveness and working together and knowing that you actually are not on your own and your success is linked to actually other people that have made you actually successful. Then the need for research evidence to realize the rights of disabled people in Africa, then the ability to translate research evidence into practice. And so what have been the outcomes of AfriNIT? We have been able to table 4 biannual symposia, 2 in South Africa and 2 in Africa, 1 in Zimbabwe and 1 in Malawi. And the 5th one is going to Ghana. The 3rd conference is in Ghana in 2017 on the 7th to the 9th of August. So you are invited there. And then we also continue strengthening the relationships between our own center and disabled people's organizations. For example, from the very beginning in 2007, Safod was actually pledged support to AfriNIT. The African Decade for Persons with Disabilities in 2007 pledged support to the AfriNID, and they were there in that very first inaugural symposium. And now we have been lately joined by the Disability Forum, which is actually the new baby network, which is also an African network. Then we have been able to develop clusters of disability researchers and disability research projects. For example, some of the big projects we have tabled is the African Policy on Disability and Development, which covered Sierra Leone, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Malawi. The Equitable Project, which covered Sudan, Malawi, South Africa, and Namibia. We have been able to develop some databases. For example, Safod commissioned AfriNID to actually, in the southern region, to create a database of all disability researchers and to also look closely the type of research that they are doing. And then we have been able to develop a research manual for persons with disabilities, whereby we felt that persons with disabilities should actually be involved in research as researchers. And so then in this manual is actually a training manual that trains disabled people to actually act within the research and be researchers. And we were sanctioned by the African Decade for Persons with Disability to actually develop this manual. And we also have been able to link our programs and PhD and also ensure that within these programs, disabled learners are integrated and are participating in these programs. And only now, we have joined with our colleagues, Safod, University of Washington, and DIMA in the Google project. And so we will continue within AfriNID fostering collaboration, as well as lately we also developed the African Journal of Disability. We are very proud of our journal. It has got a very strong editor-in-chief, and in South Africa it is an accredited journal. In Norway it is accredited, and it's actually doing very well. And the rationale for this journal was to bring African stories to the limelight. So then I will pass this slide, because I think most of it I have covered, and I will pass that is the African Journal of Disability. So then what would be the challenges that are facing AfriNID? It is about moving from storming phase to performing phase. And what does that mean?